Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Richard Moglen and welcome to today's video. And before we get started, I just want to say a quick hello to anyone who came over from wishingwealthblog.com. It's so cool to see all these people coming in and leaving comments on my videos. I've gotten quite a few questions about TC2000 and PCF codes, so if you have any requests for types of videos, just let me know down in the comments below and I'll be sure to address them. I also want to say that down in the description below, I've left the links to a couple videos that, especially if you like Dr. Wish's strategies, you might find these useful. So I've got a green dot video, a GMMA chart video, that type of thing. And if you want to stay up to date with any future videos that I'm going to make sure you hit that red subscribe button down below. But anyway, getting into the heart of today's video, this is the first episode of a new series I'm going to be doing called Market Winners. And in this series, each episode, I'm going to pick one recent market winner like KL, like IIPR, and analyze both their technicals and fundamentals to help pick out things to look for when taking up new positions. The focus of today's video is going to be on Inmode or INMD, and this is a recent IPO that rose up, consolidated a bit, had a Bollinger Band and green dot entry, and then continued to rise 50% before recently going through earnings yesterday. And on earnings, it rose an additional 17% and then dropped back a bit as it consolidated that move. So this is definitely one to watch and learn from because throughout this process, it had excellent IBD ratings and fundamentals. And what I'm going to be doing is first going through the technicals, going into TC2000 and showing you the buy points. And then I'm going to be also going through the fundamentals and what the stock looked like before it broke out on this huge run so that you can find things to look for during your stock research. So first, let's go ahead and look at the TC2000 chart, and you can see it IPO'd in the beginning of August and ran up a bit, as I said, and then consolidated the move before dropping below the Bollinger Band, having that bounce and green dot very close together, and then it ran up about 40%, and then on earnings it popped an additional 20%. So you can see this is a huge stock and you could invest just a little bit of cash into this and have had very good returns. So you can also see there's an IBD buy point right here with the pivot point being around here with a huge pop on increased volume. So first, taking a look at the Bollinger Band entry, you can see that INMD ran up and then consolidated and then closed for 2 straight days below the Bollinger Band. And I used the daily 15-2 Bollinger Bands. And then you can see the conditions were satisfied for bounce off the Bollinger Band because the stock then closed above the Bollinger Band and above the close of the previous day. And this is signified by the blue dot. So this gives you a nice early entry, and you can see this was confirmed by a green dot just a few days later. So for the green dot, you can see it started moving up, and that caused a 10-4 stochastic cross. And let me go over to this chart to show you exactly what I'm saying. So right here, I'm using the 10-4-4 stochastic, and when it crosses above the signal line, which is the 4-day moving average of the 10-4 stochastic, that is another potential buy point. And so you can see you had the Bollinger Band right here, and then the green dot just a couple days later. And I found that the most successful trades occur when these two signals happen very close together. And if it's on the same day, that's even better. So going back to this chart, kind of a cleaner chart, you can see that from this Bollinger Band entry and before earnings on this day, the stock increased 50%. And from the green dot, which you might want to wait for to confirm the uptrend, you can see it increased 40%. So both very good entry points, really low risk as well. You could place a stop below the Bollinger Band here and below the low of the previous 5 days for the green dot entry. So the third buy point is kind of an IBD buy point, which is when the stock passes through on volume a previous high. So that would be this bar, so a high of 29.24. And you can see that happened right here on this bar on huge volume coming in. That is 23 million shares traded that day. And from this buy point, although it's a lot later than the Bollinger Band and green dot, you can see that it also increased 13-14% on that run. And both of these, or all of these rather, the Bollinger Band, the green dot, and the IBD entry, all of them give you a decent cushion going through earnings. And the fundamentals were excellent. The estimates were up, but with earnings, you never know. You're kind of gambling. And unless you have a decent cushion, you don't really want to be holding through earnings. So personally, I think if I'd entered on these Bollinger Band and green dot entry points and had a 40% cushion, that would be plenty to hold through earnings. But I'm not quite sure about the IBD entry point because you're only up about 15%, and you can see it moved 20%, so if that went the other way, it could have caused a loss. One last thing about the technicals of INMD, you can see that on the weekly chart, it hasn't yet had enough time to form a yellow band stock, which is a great strategy. I highly recommend checking out the video in the description about that. But it is rising above its 10-week moving average very strongly. So that's a very good sign that this stock is under accumulation and is advancing very well. And one thing I'll mention before we go ahead and look at the fundamentals is that the data that I'm going to be showing you is from this bar right here on 9/27 that Friday. So before we started this huge move upward of 70%, I'm going to be showing you that INMD already had excellent earnings, sales, return on equity on the table before it started this huge move. And as I learned from a recent IBD Summit meeting, 70 to 80% of stocks already have excellent fundamentals before they start their huge runs. So this is definitely a key thing to look for. And INMD was number one on my list of 4,500 stocks because of its fundamentals. And that's something you just can't ignore. And that really showed me that I need to look for a buy point for this stock. So now we're looking at the database right before INMD went on this huge run, and you can see based on my sorting mechanisms of all these different stocks, this is number one out of all of those. And that is a clear sign to pay attention to this stock and look at these ratings. You got a 99 composite, a 99 relative strength, that's huge. Industry group, relative strength A, SMR rating A, and the earnings are huge. You've got 63% 1 quarter ago and 109% last quarter. And these are the key things that you need to be looking at when you're picking and choosing which stocks to put on your watch list. Let's look at its sales real quick. You can see that last quarter it was up 55% last quarter, and the average was 50% the 2 quarters. These are market winner level stocks, and these fundamentals are showing significant strength in the company, and that's what institutions are looking for when they pick stocks to invest in. And you can see its return on equity is also fantastic at 71.3%, and it is on the IBD 50 list at this point. So what I'm showing you is that INMD, before it went on this 70% run, already had excellent IBD ratings, earnings, sales, return on equity, clear signs of a potential market winner. And this is what you have to look for. And if you're interested in this sorting algorithm and how I assign points, I won't tell you how exactly I do it, but I do post this top 30 list each and every week before going into the weekend. So you can see there's some really good stocks that come up to the top, and this is the most recent stock list that I have, and you can see that there's a lot of turnover because of the recent earnings reports, but there's some familiar names up there. You've got INMD still up there, Crocs, Yeti, SNBR, some very good companies, and it's really this is really my focus. Look at fundamentals first, then look for potential buy points. And if a stock has excellent fundamentals and has around the 50 mark in terms of points, this is when I look and find buy points in advance by looking at the technicals in TC2000. So that is my analysis of INMD, and also an explanation of my strategy to look for excellent fundamentals and then look for buy points on the TC2000 charting software. Thanks so much for watching, and please let me know if you have any questions or comments down in the comment section below, and also make sure to hit that like button as well. I would really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in future videos.